High warriors of the storm. What if I told you the man who lost everything in front of the world walked back into the same arena and changed his fate forever? Let's begin the story. Part 1. The question that shakes your soul. Let me ask you something that might just hit you in the chest. What if, one day, everything you ever believed in, everything you ever dreamed of, everything you ever bled for, vanished? Gone just like that. No warning. No mercy. What would you do? Would you break? Or would you burn? Would you curse the sky? Or clench your fists and scream into the storm? Would you run? Or would you roar? Because this is not just a story. This is not fiction. This is a war cry for every soul that's ever been on the edge. A tale that lives, breathes, and burns like fire inside the bones of the broken and the brave. This is the story of one man who had nothing. No wealth, no connections, no shortcuts. But he had one thing, a relentless fire inside him that said, I don't stop. I don't bow. I don't retreat. I don't surrender. His name was Aryan, a name that didn't echo in stadiums, a name no one cared to remember. Yet, but behind that name was a volcano waiting to erupt. Aryan was not born in luxury. His world didn't come with safety nets or silver spoons. Raised in a cramped two-room apartment, where dreams were a luxury and survival was the focus, Aryan dared to dream differently. While others conformed, he created. While others followed, he questioned. And when others surrendered, he stood alone. He wasn't loud. He wasn't flashy. But inside him lived a storm, the kind of storm that scares the weak and inspires the wild. A storm made of ambition, rage, hunger, and heart. They laughed when he shared his dream of becoming a national-level martial artist, the kind that headlines arenas, inspires youth, and breaks bones with purpose. They laughed at his stitched-up gloves. They laughed at his broken shoes. They laughed at his homemade punching bag, an old rye sack hanging from the ceiling with bicycle chains. But Aryan? He didn't laugh. He smiled. The world laughs at your dreams before it claps for your success. He whispered to himself every time doubt crawled in. His mornings began before the sun. While the world snored, Aryan ran. Streets empty, air sharp, steps heavy. He ran not to escape, but to chase something no one else could see. He trained in the rain, barefoot in the mud, his knuckles bleeding from hitting bricks and walls. Each scar was a signature on the contract of greatness he was signing with his own blood. And the hunger inside, it wasn't for fame. It wasn't for applause. It was for proof. Proof that a nobody could become unstoppable. Proof that discipline, grit, and madness were more powerful than privilege. Proof that if you burn bright enough, even darkness has to make way. But let's get real. Fire alone isn't enough. The world doesn't hand you anything without first trying to break you. And life? Oh, it came for Aryan. One day, while walking home after training, Aryan was jumped by 3 street thugs just because they could. No money, no robbery, just a beating. For fun. Bloodied and bruised, Aryan stumbled home. His mother's scream echoed in the hallway. She begged him to stop chasing dreams that brought nothing but pain. She cried, Beta, Jishi kam danda dun lo. Yesab naho pei ga tumzi. But Aryan? He didn't cry. He didn't argue. He just looked into her eyes and said, a life is built by work, but history is written by passion. He locked himself in his room, stared at his broken face in the mirror, and repeated one line until it etched into his soul. No retreat. No surrender. Every legend begins with a moment of rejection, but the real ones turn rejection into resurrection. Arian was not chasing a dream. He was building a destiny, brick by brick, blow by blow. He signed up for his first local underground fight, not because he was ready, but because he was done waiting. The crowd laughed when they saw him enter. His gear was mismatched. His face still carried bruises. The opponent? Bulked up, experienced, confident, dangerous. Round one started, and Arian got hit hard, staggered, dizzy. Someone shouted. But Arian didn't fall, because pain didn't scare him, because failure didn't define him, because every drop of sweat, every sleepless night, every mocking voice had brought him here, and he wasn't leaving without a fight. He looked his opponent in the eye and said through gritted teeth, "Hit harder, because I ain't going down easy." That night, Arian didn't win the match, but he won something far greater. Respect, fear, attention, and most importantly, his own damn pride. Because when the world throws you into the fire, you don't melt. You become the flame. And from that flame, a new Arian rose, one who had tasted blood, felt the ground, and decided he'd never touch it again. No retreat, no surrender. A wise man once said, "Victory doesn't come to those who wish for it. It comes to those who bleed for it." Part 2. The fall that changes everything. The championship stage. Lights blinding. Crowd electric. Cameras rolling. And Arian, ready to write history. He stepped into the ring, chest out, eyes focused, feet grounded like a mountain. Har muscle, main tension T. Har heartbeat, main ekog. His opponent was no joke. A seasoned fighter with more medals than Arian had fights. But Arian? He didn't come for comparison. He came for domination. Round 1. Arian danced like fire. His strikes landed. Crowd roared. Even the judges looked impressed. Round 2. The opponent pushed back, but Arian stood tall, like a lion facing a storm. He grunted through pain, smiled through punches, and kept whispering to himself, no retreat, no surrender. Then came round 3, a single misstep, a fraction of a second too slow. And then, crack, a spinning back kick from his opponent landed straight on Arian's ribs. The world spun. Breath stopped. Sound vanished. The crowd froze. Arian fell, hard. He tried to rise, he really did. His arms wobbled. Legs shook. But his body gave up before his heart ever could. And just like that, the ref called it. Defeat. The stadium, once roaring, fell into an awkward silence. People stared. Some gasped. Some covered their mouths. And then, the worst sound of all, whispers. All hype. No game. His so-called supporters avoided eye contact. Those who once cheered his name now scrolled their phones. Even some friends, the ones who stood in his corner, walked away one by one. Arian lay there, not just broken, but humiliated. His coach didn't speak. His mother didn't call. His phone buzzed, not with congratulations, but with notifications from people posting about his fall. That night, Arian lay on his broken bed, staring at the cracked ceiling. The pain in his ribs was nothing compared to the one in his chest. His heart said cry. His ego said scream. But his soul whispered, fall 7 times. Stand up 8. Because this wasn't just about a fight. This was about proving to life itself that it had messed with the wrong guy. He didn't sleep that night. Instead, he wrote something on his wall with permanent red ink, bold letters. The next morning, while others still scrolled, gossiped, and judged, Arian stepped outside. Not with pride, not with energy, but with conviction. His walk was slow, body sore, soul raw, but he showed up, back at the same track where he used to train, the same punching bag, the same torn shoes. He didn't care who watched. He didn't care who laughed. He started running, slowly, then faster, tears mixing with sweat, pain turning into rage, rage melting into focus. I wasn't built to break. I was built to bleed and then become bulletproof. He didn't post motivational quotes on social media. He became the damn quote. Days turned to weeks. While the world forgot the guy who lost, Arian was reborn in silence. He studied his fight, frame by frame, second by second. He rebuilt his form, rewired his diet, and retrained his mind. He started meditating at 4 a.m., training till 10, working part-time just to afford proper gloves. No sponsor, no media, no fake hype, just pure hunger. And then something happened. One evening, while training alone, a random young boy walked up to Arian and said, "Happy Arian Hona, wo Arian? Joe Championship, main Jira the..." Arian smiled, nodded, and said nothing. The boy added, "Main AAPSE train Karnachatahun." Arian blinked, confused. The boy looked him dead in the eye and said, and in that moment, Arian realized his fall wasn't the end. It was the ignition. A wise man once said, "Your worst fall is just the beginning of your greatest rise." Arian wasn't defeated. He was detonated. The world had just lit the fuse, and the explosion was coming. Part 3, the fire rekindled. Arian vanished. No posts, no updates, no appearances. He slipped out of the spotlight like a ghost swallowed by the night. People talked. Of course they did. He's done. That loss broke him. Told you he was all talk. But they had no idea what was coming. Because while the world slept on him, Arian was awakening the beast within. It started small. Alone in an abandoned warehouse. Dusty mats. Broken mirrors. No audience. Just 4 cracked walls, a heavy punching bag, and a fire so fierce it could melt steel. Every morning at 4 a.m., the alarm screamed. But Arian didn't need it anymore. His eyes opened on their own, sharp, wild, burning with purpose. He didn't train. He went to war. Push-ups until his arms trembled. Kicks until his legs felt like firewood. Punches until his knuckles split open and bled onto the cold concrete. There were no trainers this time. No one to guide him. It was just him versus himself. And guess what? He won. Every single day. When no one believes in you, that's when you become the most dangerous version of yourself. There were moments he couldn't breathe. Times when his body screamed, "Stop!" But his heart whispered back, "Keep going." No retreat. No surrender. His fingers bruised. His ribs still sore from that last fight. His shirt drenched in sweat and blood. But his eyes were reborn. He wasn't chasing revenge. He was chasing rebirth. Every time he hit the bag, he imagined the laughter, the betrayal, the headlines, the doubt. He took every punch life had thrown at him and sent it back with double the force. Pain is temporary. Pride is forever. He roared, his voice echoing off the empty walls. That phrase became his mantra, a war cry, the sound of a man carving his legend from pain. And as weeks passed, something began to change. It started with whispers, a video of Arian doing 1,000 kicks without stopping. Then another, him sparring 3 opponents at once. No music, no edits, just raw grit, real fire. People started noticing. The same ones who mocked him paused, reconsidered, respected, and those who once unfollowed him, they started tuning in again, curious, stunned, inspired. They saw something different in Arian's eyes. He wasn't fighting to prove others wrong anymore. He was fighting to prove himself right. One day, in the middle of his training, an old man walked into the warehouse. His name? Master Dev, a retired champion. Legendary, silent, deadly. He'd been watching Arian's journey in silence. "I see the hunger in your eyes," Master Dev said, his voice calm like a storm waiting to erupt. "But hunger without direction burns fast and dies faster. Let me forge you." Arian didn't hesitate. He bowed, and just like that, the student met the master. Under Dev's brutal mentorship, Arian entered a whole new level of hell. Rope climbs with bloodied hands, ice baths in freezing cold, sparring blindfolded, hours of silence, days without food, training until he collapsed, then rising to train again. "If you want to be unforgettable," Dev told him, "then you must become unstoppable." Arian didn't flinch. He smiled through cracked lips, because this was exactly what he needed. Pain wasn't the enemy. Comfort was. Day after day, Dev pushed Arian beyond the edge of what was humanly possible. And Arian? He responded with fire, with rage, with joy. Yes, joy, because he had finally found his path. He wasn't lost anymore. He was locked in. The Arian who once fell had died, and in his place, a new force was rising. Weeks turned to months. Arian's physique transformed. Sharper, stronger, smarter. His movements, precise like a blade, explosive like thunder. His mind, calm under pressure, fearless under fire. He didn't care about fame anymore, or revenge, or people's opinions. He cared about greatness. And greatness doesn't need noise. It grows in silence. Then one evening, while Arian was finishing his final set of training, Dev looked at him and said, "You're ready." Arian raised an eyebrow. "Ready for what?" Dev grinned. "Your return. The arena is calling." Arian took a deep breath. Not fear, not hesitation, just a calm fire in his chest. "I didn't come this far just to come this far," he whispered. "I came to finish what I started." The comeback announcement dropped the next morning. Arian returns. One night, one fight, one shot at redemption. The internet exploded. Some laughed. Some cheered. Everyone watched. This wasn't just a fight. It was the return of a man reborn through hell. As the clock ticked toward the match, Arian stood in front of the mirror. No fancy gear, no crowd yet, just him and the fire behind his eyes. He looked himself dead in the reflection and said, "You fell." They laughed. "Now rise." Let them choke. He tied his gloves, took a deep breath, and stepped into the storm. Part 4. The Rise That Shook the World. The date was set. The same arena, the same spotlight, the same opponent who had crushed Arian once and walked away smirking. But now, the world wasn't laughing anymore. They were watching, closely, breath held, eyes wide. The boy they thought was broken was walking back into the lion's den. But this time, he wasn't a boy anymore. He was a storm in human skin. Arian stood backstage, fists clenched, head bowed. The crowd's roar thudded through the walls like a war drum. But he didn't hear them. He was locked in. He remembered the fall, the silence, the nights with bloody hands and burning lungs. He remembered being counted out. But most of all, he remembered why he started. Some battles aren't won in the ring. They're won in the soul. He looked up, fire blazing in his eyes. The doors opened, and Arian walked out, not as a challenger, but as a walking answer to every doubt ever spoken. Spotlights blazed. Cameras zoomed in. The commentator screamed, "Ladies and gentlemen, he's back." The crowd erupted. Flags waved. Chants echoed. Not just fans now, believers. From hate to hope, the world had turned. And across the ring, the same fighter. Bigger, meaner, confident. He smirked. "You ready to fall again, kid?" Arian smiled. Calm, composed, cold. "Last time I came to fight you. This time, I came to bury my past." The bell rang. Round one. The punches came fast. Heavy, unrelenting. Arian took a few hits. The kind that crack ribs. The kind that make other men fold. But not him. He stood tall, shoulders square, feet grounded like roots in the earth. Every move calculated, every strike surgical. "Strength is born when fear is burned," he whispered between breaths. He wasn't rushing. He wasn't angry. He was in control. By round two, sweat dripped like rain. The air was thick with tension. Arian's footwork? Flawless. He dodged like water, flowed like wind, and struck like lightning. The crowd leaned in. Something was different this time. He wasn't just surviving. He was leading. He was teaching, not just his opponent, the whole world, that when you fall and rise, you're no longer the same man. You're stronger than pain, louder than doubt, bigger than defeat. Round three hit like a hammer. Arian caught a jaw-breaking uppercut, the kind that shuts down the lights. He staggered. For a moment, silence. His vision blurred. His knees wobbled. The opponent moved in, confident he had him. But Arian's spirit screamed louder than the pain. He stood straight, blood on his lip, fire in his stare. A warrior is not the one who always wins, but the one who never stops fighting. The arena exploded. Now it was personal. Arian began to attack, with precision. Not wild, not reckless. Pure focus, pure fire. Hook, jab, elbow, knee. The opponent backed up, shocked. The predator had become prey. And Arian? He wasn't just fighting him anymore. He was fighting every moment he'd been told he wasn't enough. Every voice that whispered, "Give up." Every door that slammed shut. Round four. The battle reached its peak. Bodies bruised, breathing heavy. Each fighter swinging like the world depended on it. And then, Arian faked a left. Came in with a spinning back kick that landed flush, boom. The opponent crashed down like thunder. The ref began to count. 1, 2, 3. Arian stood in the center, breathing, waiting, not celebrating. Not yet. 7, 8, 9, 10. It was over. The bell rang. The lights went wild. The crowd erupted like a volcano of joy, shock, and disbelief. Tears, screams, applause, history. Arian raised his hands, not in pride, but in gratitude, to the struggle, to the pain, to the journey that had carved him into something unbreakable. The announcer's voice cracked as he screamed, "The boy who fell has risen a legend." In that moment, Arian didn't just win a match. He rewrote his identity. This wasn't about revenge. This was about rebirth. Victory isn't always about beating someone else, he said in the post-fight interview. Sometimes it's about conquering the darkest parts of yourself. His voice was steady, confident, not cocky, earned. Social media exploded. Hashtag no retreat, no surrender. Hashtag legendarian. Hashtag the comeback king. Everyone was talking about it. Not just fight fans, not just sports analysts, but dreamers, survivors, fighters of life. Because Arian's fight wasn't just in a ring. It was in every heart that ever broke, every soul that ever struggled, every dream that was ever doubted. He didn't become a hero because he won. He became a hero because he proved that scars don't define you. Your response does. And Arian? He responded like fire wrapped in steel. They buried me, but they forgot I was a seed. That night, he stood on the rooftop of the arena, alone for a moment, gazing at the stars. He took a deep breath, not to calm down, but to soak it all in. The fall, the fire, the rise. Everything led here. And yet it wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something greater. A voice inside him whispered, "This chapter is closed. But the book? It's just getting good." Part 5. The legacy lives on. But let's pause for a second. Was this really just Arian's story? Look deeper. Because this fire, this fight, this rise, it lives in you too. Yes, you. Sitting there, thinking maybe it's too late. Maybe the dream is too far. Maybe the world has moved on without you. Let me tell you something raw and real. Legends aren't born. They're forged in failure. And Arian? He was no chosen one. He didn't come from power or privilege. He came from pain. He didn't have a silver spoon. He had scars. Just like you. Underscore. Arian's rise wasn't about victory in the ring. It was about something far greater. The victory over self-doubt, over fear, over the voices that say, "You're not good enough. You'll never make it. People like you don't win." And now, his name echoed, not because he was strong, but because he refused to quit, because he proved what many forget. You don't need permission to become unforgettable. And after the lights faded, after the crowd went home, the real impact began. Kids from broken homes started training. Women who were told you can't started saying, "Watch me." Fathers struggling to feed families, students drowning in debt, dreamers who had quit dreaming. They all saw one thing in Arian. Possibility. He had become more than a fighter. He had become a symbol, a walking reminder that no retreat, no surrender isn't just a phrase. It's a lifestyle, a war cry, a legacy. And here's where it gets personal. One day, a teenager, skinny, unsure, hurting, showed up at Arian's gym. Eyes down, shoulders drooped. The kind of boy the world forgets. Arian walked up to him. "Why are you here?" he asked. The boy mumbled, "I don't know. I guess I'm tired of feeling weak." Arian didn't laugh, didn't scoff. He smiled. "Then we begin," he said, handing the boy his first pair of gloves. Because every lion was once a cub, until he chose to roar. Arian didn't vanish after the win. He became the fuel for 1,000 others to light their fire. Workshops, street gyms, open training camps, speeches that made men cry and women roar. He wasn't chasing titles anymore. He was chasing transformation in others, because real greatness isn't about how high you climb. It's about how many you lift as you rise. But let's cut the music. Let's strip the lights. Let's talk you. How many battles have you fought in silence? How many dreams have you buried because someone laughed at them? How many times have you quit because life hit too hard? It's not shameful to fall. The only true failure, the battle you lose, is the one where you stop fighting. So I'll ask you again, will you retreat or will you rise? Life's arena is brutal. You'll face rejection, betrayal, loss. You'll give your all and still lose. You'll love fully and still get broken. You'll try your best, and they still might say you're not enough. But here's the secret Arian learned in the darkest nights. Pain is the price of becoming unstoppable. Every scar, a medal. Every tear, a lesson. Every loss, a page in the legend you're becoming. So the next time life slams you to the ground, don't stay down. Smile, wipe your blood, spit out the doubt, and say it loud enough to scare the heavens. No retreat, no surrender. Say it like it's your armor. Say it like it's your weapon. Say it like it's your birthright, because it is. And here's something Arian once said that stuck with me forever. You're not just here to exist. You're here to leave a dent on this world. So whatever your dream is, whether it's writing a book, building a business, breaking a chain, starting again at 50, or fighting demons no one sees, hear me now. You don't need to be ready. You just need to start. Don't wait for the perfect time. There isn't one. The perfect time is the moment you decide to fight. And the fight? It's not easy, but it's worth it. Because every great story, yours, Arian's, mine, begins in darkness and ends in fire. So fight for your name. Fight for your truth. Fight for your future. And when the world watches in awe, when they ask, how did you do it? Smile. And whisper the truth that started it all. No retreat, no surrender. With that said, thanks for watching. And until next time,